Greetings once again. Welcome back to the channel. For today, I'm going to talk about postgraduate education and how to make the decision to go back to school and also choosing the course that you're going to pursue in your postgraduate education. And the reason as to why I'm going to talk about this particular topic today is because I had conversation with some of my colleagues and some of my associates as well, and people have been talking about this to a greater extent in terms of how do you make a decision to pursue your further education, that is after the undergraduate program, and which courses do you go for, what drives that decision that you're going to make. And it's a critical question that we need to ask ourselves: why do we want to further our education? What influences that decision that we're going to make? And once you come to terms with the fact that you need that further education, that's the first thing, because you need to know if you really want to continue with your education. That is the first thing. Once you know that you need to further your education, you need to ask yourself, in what line of practice would you want to go into, and how do you make that decision? And that is about choosing the particular program that you want to pursue. And when you look at it in terms of the dynamics of the industry as it has been, over time there's a difference in the reason, actually the impetus for us to pursue further education. In the earlier days, the constant standard was with guaranteed employment. You'd get into a job, you start your practice at a certain job group. The longer you stay in terms of experience gained over time, then you'd get a promotion. But also the promotions were pegged on your further education, acumen, and whatever qualifications you've acquired. And therefore somebody would be in a particular line of practice and they further their education in that line of practice because that is what would guarantee them a promotion in their job group, to going to another level. Better pay packages, better working conditions, and all that was pegged on your ability to get additional qualifications. So therefore the question was, how much more education do I need to grow to my level? What is my ambition in terms of professional advancement and career progression? That was a driver. In the current level, when we look at the dynamics of the society, there's a conversation that education is not, degree is not the main requirement for you to get the well-fulfilling jobs. Some people would say that. In my perspective, I believe the degree is not just a requirement, it is the entry, the gate pass for you to get an access to that opportunity. But beyond that, there are different determinants and drivers that will determine whether you're succeeding in that job or not, whether you're getting a promotion or not. It might not be specifically focused on your level of education, that is whether you have a master's, a PhD, or whichever way it is. Though these are good qualifications that you need to have depending on where you want to pursue them, because the challenge is we are not just doing courses for promotion. We're doing courses that we see the value of that further education in your professional development and in the line of work where you're practicing, where you can transfer the skills to real impactful value in your line of work. And that is another good thing that we also have to understand, that our education is not only because of acquiring knowledge. Acquisition of knowledge is not of value, but acquisition of knowledge that we can transfer into practicable output in terms of service delivery, quality product outputs, that is what we need to look at. So when we understand those different dynamics, then we need to ask ourselves, then how do we move from the earlier generations and earlier predispositions and perception on what value education was, why would you go for further education, to the current dynamics where you might be having an undergraduate degree with additional skill and experience that would give you a better rewarding job depending on your ability to transfer and actually translate the skill and the knowledge you have to practical applicable examples and practical applicable output in terms of your line of work. That would be a good thing for us. And when you look at the current dynamics, when we all still want to further our education, we need to look for opportunities. There are different scholarships that people are trying to go for, which are good for us. If you find a scholarship that matches your interest and also gives you the benefits that you hope for, then that would be a good thing for us. But what are the drivers? What are the current challenges that we're dealing with? One, the automatic posting that was a guarantee is now off the table. And therefore, people who used to get a job, let's say, for example, as a pharmacist, I get posted into a primary level 5 or level 4 healthcare facility, and in working in that health facility, I would be guaranteed that I would get, let's say, for example, study leave that would partly be financed by the government to further my education. I would be doing it maybe in clinical pharmacy. But is that really my line of work of interest? Probably may or may not be, but because it's the area where I'm working and the area where there's value in terms of perceived value from an employer standpoint, therefore I would continue doing that course, getting a master's, which would give me a promotion, higher job group, and all that, the benefit packages. It may not be transferring to the skills. So lack of automatic posting then means you are not likely to pursue the course you would be pursuing. Let's say, for example, in the case that I've talked about, I got posted into a level 5 or level 4 health facility, meaning I'm working in the clinical setting. Then the most feasible line of practice would either to go for a clinical pharmacy master's or do pharmacoepidemiology and pharmacovigilance, which is in line with whatever I'm going to practice within the hospital, because that is the scope of what I do. If I don't do that, then it might not be translating to whatever is going to happen. And therefore, the line of work where practice where I was would determine the kind of course I'm going to take. That's changed because without automatic posting, then it means you'd be out in the world looking for different paths, different employment opportunities, and whichever employment opportunity you'd get would determine whether you are going to go for that particular course as a mastering program or not. So that would be a critical thing. The other thing was the cost of postgraduate degrees. Currently, master's programs are becoming prohibitively expensive, including in the public sector, and that is a conversation that we need to ask ourselves. How are we going to make education affordable? And then what is the return on investment in terms of this education? Because I would get a master's program, a degree, additional certificate, but is it translating to output in terms of remuneration for me in terms of the work that I'm going to get? If I don't get value out of that education, then to a greater extent we'll have less people pursuing further education. Then another thing is loss of prosperity on future career options. I'm not so sure which line of work, line of practice I would want to go into. If that is the case, then likelihood of me pursuing another program that might not guarantee me getting to another role would be impacted. Because I'm not going to do a clinical pharmacy master's if I don't think I'm going to practice in clinical setting. That would be of no value to me. I'm not going to pursue, let's say, for example, pharmacovigilance when I know for me I'm going to be working in a supply chain operations or even marketing. What are the correlations? What is the driver? And if I don't have clarity on whichever line of practice and the prospects of the line, then that would impact my choice of career. And it's affecting most of us, especially when we want to go for our masters, but we don't know which particular lines of practice would give us the rewarding career that we hope for. And therefore, if we've not determined it within ourselves, then we're not able to make a decision from a point of knowledge, point of information. That's a critical thing. Then the other thing is lack of guarantee of fulfilling job in any particular line of practice. You never know. You might be seeing opportunities in one line, but it might not be what fulfills you, what makes you excited and happy going to work every single morning. So if those dynamics are not balanced, then there's a reason that we are going to have a challenge. So then how do you make the decision on what to do? I think a greater bit of it would be around what are your interests at a personal level, at a pharmacy level. If you have an interest in a particular line of work, then you need to ask yourself, would I want to do this long term? What skills do I need to get into that space? And for sure, when we're done with our internship program and our undergraduate training, it's not guaranteed that we all know which particular line of practice we want to go into. Most of the times we don't know, but we are hoping we'll get something that is fulfilling to us. And therefore, when making that decision, I believe the first 2-3 years after undergraduate program might not be the ideal for you to make a decision on which particular line to specialize in as a pharmacist, unless you've made a conscious decision and you believe that is the line of work you want to pursue, and you believe whether you get the opportunities or not, you're still going to stick to that line. If not possible, then take a break. Don't go into the master's program or your further PhD and all that, but then get an opportunity to experience other lines of practice, explore whatever opportunities are there. That would be good for you. Then another thing that is important for me, and this is something that I personally have explored and I find it useful for me, once you're done with the undergraduate degree program, you have the core technical skills in all the different areas of practice that you could practice in as a pharmacist, which puts you at an vantage point. But with that vantage position from the background technical training, then you need to ask yourself, what other skills do you need? And that is why I believe short courses play a critical role, because they give you the transferable skills. That is, for example, we talk about project management. If you can do a short course on project management, you acquire the transferable skills that could be transferred from whichever line of practice. And once you have these core competencies, then you can now look at specializing once you establish your core interest that you want to pursue long term. But you already have some technical transferable skills, which would be good for you. The next bit is to explore what lines of work and are you going to learn about what those industries and dynamics of that field. Coming out of undergraduate training, you have so much option, but also you're not limited to whatever you can do. But at the same time, the dynamics of this is you might have an interest, but you don't know much about that field. So you'd say, let's say for example, I'm interested in doing clinical pharmacy practice. When you look at the current practice and the environment, it might not be conducive in terms of what you would pursue, what you'd want to do. And therefore, if you don't get an ideal environment to practice and an opportunity to learn and get the knowledge you need to, and you apply that knowledge you've gained, that it will not be of value to you. Therefore, you might end up getting frustrated in that line of work. Therefore, the best thing is get the transferable skills from short courses and whatever you can. Exert yourself and apply yourself in different settings, practice, and get to gain the knowledge, get to understand the dynamics of the real field from real life experience, real world evidence of what it entails to practice in that line of work. Once you've known that, once that is exploring the career opportunities that are available for you so that you make an informed decision. Do short courses to get the transferable skills, whether they're project management, finance or non-finance managers. Get to know the different dynamics. Be able to be a systems thinker, looking around the environment and seeing what you can apply. Then the other bit is to ask yourself what fulfills you in the long term and how do you make value out of it. If you're able to make that move, then you'll be in a better position to choose a course that you want to pursue long term. Get to pursue a course in your mastery program, master's degree or a PhD level, whichever it is. But then it needs to be informed by what areas of work would you want to be, what are the opportunities that lie there, how fulfilling would that be to you, and then what other options exist. Because if you don't know those, then you'll not be able to make an informed decision. Looking at it from my own personal experience, after finishing my undergraduate degree program, I was keen to look at doing masters, and even now I'm still exploring masters opportunities. But luckily enough, I had the opportunity to interact with mentors and people who would guide me and coach me in line of my practice. And the first decision that I made, which was a good one, recommended by one of my former lecturers, was to do a project management course. And that project management course opened up my mind to see the dynamics of the world, the healthcare space from a systems approach, where we see we are part of an ecosystem, and in that ecosystem there are different players, different variables, and you have to see which part of it do you influence and to what level do you influence it and how do you put your mark. And therefore I'm able to look at the whole ecosystem and see which role do I need to play across the spectrum. Then with that master's postgraduate diploma in project management course that I did, I'm now able to apply the technical pharmacy undergraduate knowledge that I have, and I'm using it in different areas. At the current moment, I believe from that transferable skill that I gained, and now the experience from working in the industry at all, then now I'm suited to be able to apply this knowledge and do the work that I need to do, but also establish an area of work that I would want to pursue long term. And therefore, at this particular moment, if I'm going to make a choice about a master's program that I'm going to pursue, it is informed by my own interests. Two, I have experience on what the dynamics of the industry that I want to work is, and I believe it's something that is suited for me, rather than making a rash decision just because I need to get a qualification and finish within a certain timeline. It's more costly to get a master's at 28 than to delay it for 2-3 years down the line. And in that 2-3 years down the line that you've delayed it, you're going to pursue a master that is going to give you value, that's going to get you the success that you hope for and the fulfillment that you need. And I think that is a critical decision that we have to make. Let's stay open. Let's explore the opportunities that exist in our environment, whether it's doing locums, technical programs, fellowships, and whatever it is. You are gaining the real life evidence and experience of what different fields of practice involve. Then once you gain that experience and you gain the knowledge, you're now going to make an informed decision on where you want to master, and you gain your core specialization to pursue. And once you do that, you'll be in a better position. And I believe that is going to guide us in terms of managing our further education pursuits, and also linking that further education to real tangible impact and service to the communities that we are bound to serve and bound to deliver services to in our practice. I hope this enlightens you. This helps you shape some of the conversation that you might be having, some of the thoughts that you might be having. I'd be glad to keep this conversation going. And for me to do that, then I need your feedback to inform my next conversation and what touch points we need to look into. So please share your comments, share feedback, see what you can do. And if you enjoyed this kind of conversation, please subscribe to the channel, share it with your colleagues. Let's discuss, let's have the conversation going, because unless it's a conversation, then we might not be able to make impacts. But if it's a conversation, I'm getting your feedback, you're getting my contribution, and then we are shaping the conversation and having a closely knit framework on what we need to do to shape the future of our practice, then we'll be at a better level. Thank you so much. Subscribe, like, comment, and share with your peers. See you again next Sunday.